Hi, this is Glenn Loury. I want to once again thank you all for listening to this show, and I'd like to issue an extra thank you to those who have selected to support the show financially through Patreon. This mic, for example, the one I'm speaking into right now, is a consequence of your generosity. So thank you. I'm happy to say that the Patreon page is becoming something of a community where people discuss the topics brought up in my conversations with guests, where they share resources with one another, and where they ask questions. I do try to answer some of these questions by responding to comments when I can, but I think there's a more effective way to go about this. Accordingly, starting this month, February of 2021, John McWhorter and I will inaugurate monthly Q&A sessions. Since we already have over 2,000 people at Patreon, the asking of the questions that we will address will be limited to those who support us at the $10 tier. But our answers, in the form of a special hour or so long conversation between myself and John, will be available monthly to patrons at both the $5 and the $10 tiers. To join our community, please go to patreon.com/Glenn Show. Should you decide to join the $10 tier, you'll see a post at the top of the page that invites you to ask questions. Those joining the $10 tier should also expect another piece of exclusive content from me this week. This will be a recitation of my interview at Bucknell University about reflecting on the 1960s at 50. It's a 45-minute or so conversation. Well, actually, me reading the text of a conversation where I discuss the legacies of Martin Luther King Jr. and of Malcolm X, amongst other things. Access to this will also be restricted to the $10 tier. If you choose the $5 option, you can expect the first Q&A session to be posted in about 2 weeks on or about February 15th. If you want to donate a custom amount above the suggested tiers, please be mindful that you will need to select one of the tiers while signing up. If you don't, then Patreon will put you in a no tier category, and that'll make it difficult to deliver videos to you. None of this changes the regular Glenn Show programming. We'll continue to publish an episode each week. Again, many thanks. And we know that these institutions, a Princeton or a Brown or a Columbia, are run by and manned and womaned by people who are on the whole politically very progressive and sympathetic to the anti-racist cause. The idea that there's quote unquote institutional racism rife in an institution like Princeton or Columbia or Brown
is absurd.
It makes so broad a use of the institutional racism phrase, meaning that it's an institution where some Black people might be made to feel uncomfortable by some stuff. You know, that's basically what they're saying. Student club had a party where some statement was made that somebody hung a flag outside their window that offended my sensibility. Somebody chalked on the sidewalk, "I'm a pro-Trump supporter," and that has made me feel. The administration failed to make a strenuous denunciation of America after the George Floyd incident. It only issued a tepid denunciation of America. The African American Studies program is not a department that can grant tenure. It's just a place where you have people with affiliations with other departments. We demand autonomy. We demand freedom. It's absurd. It's completely absurd.
Mm-hmm. It ignores degree. There's this tacit idea that a Black person is supposed to ignore the issue of degree. And if you have that tacit idea, what you're saying is that we Black people are cognitively challenged. If you think that we really can't understand gray zones and degree, then you think that we have less of a mentality, frankly, than sparrows, parrots, and orangutans, and some whales. You're saying that we have the mentality of guinea pigs.
But what I'm saying is
deeply insulting.
Appreciate your point. I just wanted to add to that. None of this gets off the ground unless the students can anticipate a positive response from the administrative personnel to the protest. I mean, it's all buttressed. These things are supporting each other in some kind of mutually reinforcing way. The supply of outrage is in part a consequence of the correct anticipation of peeing in the pants.
Yes.
The outrage party and the quivering cowards are all in cahoots with one another.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
It's a routine. It's a dance. Yeah. And it really needs to stop, partly because it is a routine within which Black people are thought quietly to be chimpanzees. And I really wish that these students and the professors who support them understand how dumb they are being considered. Not how dumb they look, because then that becomes, why are you so concerned with what white people think of us? It's that they, not how we look. Are we supposed to be respectable Negroes, respectability politics? No, that's not the point. It's that these people quietly are thinking, these people are dumb, and so we're going to approach them on their level. I don't know where people get the idea that that's Black strength or that it's progressive. People really need to get past that. And I just think that Black students who protest over things that don't make sense, there's a such thing as a sensible Black protest, but if it's about something that doesn't make any damn sense and you're making these demands that your school becomes an anti-racism academy along the lines of Maoist ideology, frankly, you have to understand that the people who give in to you think you are dumb as shit. And you have to understand that that is a problem. You've been condescended to. But no, they don't get it. They just think that to stick your fist in the air and yell certain slogans makes you somebody of higher wisdom and makes you a person who is continuing the struggle of Dr. King. No, he would have had choice words watching some of these things these days.
I think a piece might be missing here. If you look at away from educational institutions and into the private sector, it raises the question that I'm trying to put my finger on. Because the educational institutions are one thing, there's a culture there. But the business world, the human resource departments in large corporations, whether it be in Silicon Valley or it be the National Basketball Association or it be Nike or other such companies, or we could give many examples, is a different story. Company might have thousands or tens of thousands of employees. They've got a complex marketing problem where they've got a segmented market of customers to whom they have to appeal to try to maintain their brand loyalty and whatnot. And they are in the private sector, in the human resource departments, in the employment training area, in the corporate imaging, in the advertising. They are also reflecting a woke sensibility to some extent. Boycotts are threatened against company products if they get the wrong image on racial issues associated with themselves. Employees are in effect going on passive internal strikes of uprising against the corporate structure because they feel that the company is on the wrong side of history with respect of this or that. And the logic of that phenomenon, wokeism in the private sector, a law firm that worries that it has to have enough Black partners. As I say, a sports franchise that doesn't want to run into the problem of having its athletes disgruntled about the fact that most of them are Black and yet the company doesn't, the team, the organization doesn't reflect their values, quote unquote. That's something, isn't it, a little bit different from what it is that we're seeing on the college campuses?
Yeah. And sometimes it's also just that there's an extent to which wokeism sells. And I would say often it's a wokeism that is not excessive. I don't think that being woke is wrong. There's a certain fringe that's now exerting a kind of influence. But you think about something like Roseanne Barr, the actress and comedian whose career just ended because she said that Valerie Jarrett looks like an ape. It was that one thing. And she said that on Twitter, and that took care of her TV show. It's now been running a few seasons without her because she can't be on it. And that just took care of that based on that one comment. And I remember thinking at the time, nobody who's telling her to clear out her dressing room and refusing to ever have her on television again thinks that that one tweet is a justification for somebody's whole career being over. But the idea is that it doesn't sell to have backed somebody like that. And that's one of those things.
I've said that here before.
Yeah.
Secondary sanction, the secondary sanction. So Roseanne Barr offends, so we're going to sanction her. Okay, and that's the message. The message is don't do business with her. Now somebody breaks that agreement and does business with her, produces her TV show, invites her onto their stage, give her an audience or whatnot. That person has to be punished. In order for the overall regime to work, you have to not only sanction the offenders, you have to sanction the people who themselves fail to sanction the offenders. That's where the action is. That's how the witch hunt actually gains traction.
And so we are in 1250 in France among the scholastics. Yes, that is really what this is like. And I just hope that under this new administration, if we really are having a racial reckoning, we can rethink our way back to the sensible, for me, it would be the sensible left. Now, I'm not saying that there doesn't need to be change, but this business of the Inquisition based on things that simply don't make logical sense from A to B, where everybody just bows down. This is a scourge. This is religion taking over in the public square in a country where we were supposed to be past that. And language is awkward, and we don't use the word religion, but that's exactly what's going on. And to be honest, that's what I try to get across in this book that I wrote. Many people seem to think I'm writing a study of the parallels between religion and excessive wokeism. I'm not writing anything that boring. Nobody wants to read an analysis like that for 300 pages. I'm writing about the danger that this proposes to this country. And Glenn and I did not set this up to be an ad for my book. It's just that seems to have come up again.
We didn't set it up that way, but that's the way it worked out, and it's all good.
So as you see, Glenn, I'm mad about this stuff, and it's not that, it's not happening against me much. There's a story I'll tell you in about a month, but I really worry when I see so many people refusing to make sense. It bothers me.
Well, this is a conversation that should be continued. I don't know what the future is going to hold, but I'm not optimistic about how the advent of the Biden administration will affect this this phenomenon that we're talking about. I think the sensible left on race is not coming back. I think the loony left on race is going to be empowered. I mean, who are going to be the people, because Joe Biden is obviously not going to be personally reviewing all of this stuff, in the Department of Justice, in the Department of Education, in the White House staff, and whatnot, who are going to have the portfolio to deal with these issues? Who are going to be called in for advice? Who are going to be in the meetings? And the political strategy team that have to factor in the black vote, the quote unquote, the black vote. Who are the brokers going to be in those meetings where the impact of the administration's policy on whatever it might be is being assessed for its compatibility with the electoral strategy going forward? Biden is supposed to not be running for re-election. Kamala Harris is the heir apparent. How is that going to work exactly? I don't see any good in that in terms of anti-woke. We should call ourselves the woke busters, by the way, John. The people who say Ibram X. Kendi is an empty suit, who dare Hannah Jones to come on the program and to debate us, who think Ta-Nehisi Coates is vastly overrated, who et cetera, et cetera. Who are you going to call when the diversity and inclusion team comes for your head? Who are you going to call? Woke busters.
You just set up a hashtag. I can see it.
That's what it's all about. We're in the social media business now, John.